So I've been watching back some footage lately from Modern Warfare 3's beta and been thinking about some of the work that I think personally Sledgehammer can still do to make this game even better, and today I want to share some thoughts with you. Now, will my list be definitive? Will it cover every single base? Will it hit the nail on the head for everybody? Absolutely not, because it's just my own opinions on the matter, and I'm surely going to forget firstly some things, and also might not necessarily reflect your views. But that's where I want to turn it over to you as well. What do you want to see adjusted, changed, or added? Feel free to drop it in the comments. This is likely going to be one of those last opportunities that we have to discuss the theoretical about the game's state, given launch is upcoming. So I wanted to share a sort of wish list per se of changes, but as we go along, again, drop your thoughts down below. If you enjoy the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay updated with all things Modern Warfare 3 as we gear up for the launch upcoming and early access shortly in just a little over a week's time at this point. Lofty goal here. I'd be curious if we can hit 550,000 subscribers by then, perhaps even more. So if you'd like to join the community and stay up to date with all the coverage, tips, and guides that come with it, I'd love to have you. And finally, check out my friends over at G Fuel for upwards of 30% off your entire order with code ESPRESSO. Now's a great time to grab a restock or try it out for the first time ahead of launch, gearing you up for all your energy come grind time, but more on that a little later. For now, let's take a look at some things that I think Sledgehammer can still do to improve Modern Warfare 3 even further. First, let's start out with some gameplay feedback here. This stuff pertaining to actual gameplay, what happens in each match. Firstly, still one of the big things watching back some of the Weekend 2 stuff, I think there still can be work done for teammate and enemy nameplate visibility. Or again, whether or not that's just overall operators themselves being more visible or just the nameplate over top of their head. Weekend 2 of the beta did introduce that more sort of opacity and the nameplate over top of the enemies, which was definitely nice by comparison to Weekend 1, a big improvement, but looking back at some of this gameplay, it still is one of those situations where it can easily get lost in some areas based on lighting, based off of how angles work and all that. So I'd like to see a little bit further here at this. There is that one, though, perk that is rumored right now to be coming at launch that will give the outline to players, so that might be something that is a mitigation here to it that allows for visibility to be even easier, but at the cost then of a perk or a gear slot. So that's something we don't have any information on just yet, but I'd still like to see a little more done here in regards to that. Maybe just the opacity of those name tags being a little more solid as opposed to, again, being able to see through it, say, in light or something like that. Additionally, whenever I was looking at some of the movement, I do like where we were at with some of the movement abilities that we have right now. The slide cancel, I'm personally okay with. I know that some people will talk about entirely removing that slide and sprint out time whenever you try and transition outwards from that slide. That's something that we'll touch on in a second because that's actually caused by an entirely different thing. But one additional thing that I'd like to see added in here is bunny hopping to a degree. I don't want to say this in the sense of like bunny hopping across an entire map, but I think that it's definitely nice that if you would have one singular bunny hop to keep that momentum going. That might be an unpopular opinion, maybe a hot take, but it is something that was available in the Modern Warfare 2 beta. And I remember at that point, I was like, this actually doesn't feel half bad. The sliding, of course, was pretty bad, but the bunny hop, the singular hop outside of that to keep that momentum going around a corner, it definitely helped with that pace of play and also allowed you to challenge some gunfights that if you had the skill to do it, it was a nice little reward to do so. I'm not saying, again, to do like 6 bunny hops in a row, but just one singular jump and then hop, I think, is a nice way to do it. Otherwise, right now, you'd end up just jumping and planting immediately. So that's something that I think would be pretty cool. Obviously, audio consistencies is something that I would like to see ironed out as well. That was mentioned on their Trello board that they were going to have a fix incoming, but they didn't say if it would be for launch, if it'd be for shortly after. That, a lot of it coming down to just your teammate audio being way louder than that of the enemy audio. If anything, bring those down to an even 1-to-1 mix, not necessarily having your teammates be so much louder, or maybe best case, friendly audio coming down a little lower in that mix as well by comparison to the enemy audio. That, of course, there will be things that would adjust that by, say, your awareness style perk, that bone conduction headset, the covert sneakers for dead silence. That kind of stuff will be sort of variables in that, but I'm talking just at base. Next, I want to move over to some UI and user interface feedback because honestly, I think this is where a lot of the stuff that, looking back at some of this now, you might be able to pinpoint it to more simply just something for the user experience that isn't changing these fundamental things of the gameplay experience. Firstly, the one that I want to come back to is I hope to see an option to unbind or turn off dolphin diving, because like I mentioned that sliding was feeling weird in the beta, this was actually why. Because statistically speaking, the slide and sprint turns out from that slide is the exact same as we had in Modern Warfare 2019. Shout out to my friend Ace for breaking that down. But why it feels different is there's 2 inputs as opposed to in Modern Warfare 2019, there was only 1. So instead of the slide initiating on the tap of the slide designated to that button or key, the game's input has to wait to see if you hold that in or not. So it has to wait till the release of that same button or key to initiate the slide, giving a fraction of a second more delay. But that's the way that it is right now. It's required since both actions are in that game mechanic set. That's also a key reason as to why you sometimes have dead slides, perhaps where the input registry is incorrect. Now, if you can end up unbinding that or turning off dolphin diving so that you have the option to, say, choose, again, having both there, the ability to invert it, or you can turn off sliding, or you can turn off dolphin diving, that would be something that would mitigate that entire problem and that entire extra weird feeling delay that you'd end up getting. So I'd love to see that implemented. I don't know if we'll actually have time for that to be there at launch or shortly thereafter, but that's like maybe my #1 pipe dream for the UI and UX feedback. Next, I would also love to see a toggle to remove the on-screen prompt for tac stance. Like, I know what I have it set to, and after a certain while, it'll become muscle memory, of course, to do that, but every time you ADS in the beta, you'd still see that prompt to initiate that tac stance. I don't know that I necessarily need that. It's kind of like asking me if I want to go prone or if I want to melee or something like that. It'll be that second nature if I want to integrate it, but also I don't have to if I don't want to. So therefore, I don't want the notification on there, if that makes sense. Next, talking things toggleable, I would love to toggle off an option to default to not ledge hang. I can't tell you how many times over the past year here that I've had either in Warzone or in multiplayer where I'm trying to get away from an enemy or something like that, and I want to go and I jump, and instead of just jumping and mantling up on top of something, it'll just hang there. And at that point, you're just entirely vulnerable. You can't end up shooting back. So unless you have a riot shield on your back, you're kind of screwed for a good second to like 3 seconds to mantle up there. So I would love to just truly have the ability to not ledge hang at all, but instead, anytime I jump up and try and double click like that, just mantle up. I don't want to sit there and be a sitting duck for a little while. So I'd love to see that happen. I don't know if we'll see that come to the game or not, but additionally, I'd love to see some deaths added to the scoreboard during matches as well, not just afterwards. That's one of those things that like you don't really focus on too much, but it's just like, why was that changed? I would love to see a kill streak counter from Modern Warfare 2019 and that Modern Warfare 2 beta make a return. I truly, to this day, still don't know why it was removed from the beta and then not in Modern Warfare 2 at base. It makes life so much easier trying to track streaks. If you go on one, myself as like editing videos, it's so much nicer to realize, oh, that's the streak I was on, didn't really know that, after you get your score streaks or kill streaks, because other than the 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on that you end up getting in the banner and ribbon up top, it doesn't really give you any designation on what you're on. So I would love to just have that be added back in. Again, don't know why that was changed. Speaking of on-screen HUD elements like that, I'd love to see the UI elements that show your streaks, calling in a streak, who captured a point, and so on and so forth, show not only just the name, but also the calling card or emblems, and give weight to those kind of things, again, for those that really do enjoy customization. And the final thing that I'd like to see in terms of UI and user interface stuff is the ability to download high-res texture packs, not just have them streaming. And maybe this was there in the latter portions of the beta, but I don't recall this being there whenever I checked it out at the very beginning. But this would lead to less packet bursting, micro stutter, and lag, because you'd end up having all those sort of high-res textures as a local file. It wouldn't be something you have to download it as the game is playing. It wouldn't use any bandwidth at that point. So that would be something that, again, would just entirely mitigate any connection impact that would normally have. I have that happen all the time within Warzone, had it happen a little bit during the PC beta. Didn't really notice it too much on the PlayStation side of things, which is kind of weird, but anyways, that would be something I would love to see. Now, the final thing I want to touch on here is a segment on game offering feedback. Probably one of the biggest things here that I could say, and I've said this piece already a couple of times just in passing, I would love to see an Ultimate Mastery or a Grand Mastery camo grind. Something where you have to do any combination of like Modern Warfare 2 Orion and the Modern Warfare 3 equivalent for multiplayer, Modern Warfare 3 Mastery, and then like an extra camo if you do the zombies and multiplayer camos all together for Modern Warfare 3. Or maybe it's something like a Grand Mastery and then Ultimate Mastery where you have to do all of that stuff, because you do have new zombies camos for Modern Warfare 2 weapons. You have the existing Modern Warfare 2 Orion that you can work towards in Modern Warfare 3 if you use those guns. But you also have the Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer mastery and zombies mastery. So what if you did all four? You end up getting extra camos on top of that. I think that would be so cool. But beyond that, I'd love to see an abundance of organic customization. That's the key part, organic. We saw a lot of stuff within the shop this year, and it honestly was really off-putting, but let us unlock and customize a ton of things. And to me, I think that will be something that increases player duration customization rather than a shop more so. Keep the universal camo rewards coming, keep the seasonal events, but give us more in like the way of, say, reticle customization, something down to that even. I couldn't tell you how much I hated, as small as it was, that I couldn't customize my red dots in Modern Warfare 2 like I could in Modern Warfare 2019. I'd have to wait for a bundle that had an attachment with the reticle that I wanted and then buy it if I cared to do it that much, which 99% of the time I didn't. I think like one of the very few bundles I bought, it was a purple red dot or something like that came along with it, but just like, let us customize that normally. Also, again, talking continuation and organic customization, keep going with those ranked camo grind rewards. I love that kind of stuff. Keep going with the Warzone ranked and multiplayer. Keep going with the Easter eggs, the seasonal introductions via events, all that kind of stuff. And finally, again, while it might be a pipe dream, I would love to see a prestige shop come back here. A lot of reward-based stuff is like my thing here with this. I think that that's how you're going to organically increase player counts, increase player duration, that average duration of each player, and all things that come along with that. Offer up blueprints, camos for each individual prestige you can end up hitting, or getting tokens every 50 or 100 levels that you can end up banking and using to unlock specific things. I think that would be an incredible thing here that would reward players and keep them on the game. But that's kind of where I'm at here at this. That's some of the takeaways that I think, again, in terms of gameplay, UI, and UX, and then just some general pipe dreams for content going forward. One of the big things, of course, that I do think the game will fight is basically just itself, distinguishing itself as a new game as opposed to a DLC. At launch, I don't think that argument's going to go away at all, because, I mean, the marketing for this game is basically like, hey, remember last year? Yeah, we're doing everything Infinity Ward didn't want to do. And I get that. But I do very much believe that as we progress, we can end up seeing a lot of things, including new maps and this entire new post-launch experience that instead of, like, say, getting remasters like we have in the past, instead, maybe it's just flipped. We have remasters up front and then all new content throughout the entire year. But anyways, that's getting ahead of myself. But all that said, that's my wish list of sorts and how I think that Sledgehammer and Modern Warfare 3 still has some work ahead of it, but we'll see what time brings. For now, that's what we're gonna call it. Before we wrap everything up, make sure you check out my friends over at G Fuel to fuel your grind this COD season. Whether you're grinding weapon levels, camos, content of your own, G Fuel is there to help. To me, G Fuel is like a cup of coffee in the morning, gets me going, gets that productivity started, and my team Carnage just recently launched their own flavor, Pog Juice, if you guys want to check that out. Might be biased, but again, I think it's probably one of the best flavors out there right now. We spent about 2 years making this thing here, so if you guys want to check it out, link in the description below. But if not, you want to check out something else, strawberry banana, hype sauce, pink drip, the Morbius nectarine flavor. There's a bunch of different flavors on offer that if you guys want to check something out, now's a great time to do so. Code Espresso can get you 30% off your entire order. But that said, that is now we're going to wrap it up. So let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of this list? Is there anything that you would add to it? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 3 as we gear up for launch and beyond. I'd love to have you in the community. For now, though, thanks so much for watching. Modern Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.